A number of women have said a perk to wearing masks in public is that it silences some of those annoying catcalls from guys. But does it really make a difference? Lisa Guerrero has our Inside Edition catcall mask test.
Catcalling. It's a hassle women face every day.
That guy just came up to me and said, "Oh my God."
Guys commenting on their looks while they walk down the street.
Okay, I'm just sharing this clip with you as a preface before we get into tonight's article. But I just want you to notice, I mean, this chick is got some double D boobies, and she's wearing this crop top where it's just accentuating the cleavage and the boobies. And as men, we are wired to go whoosh, right, and look at it. So let's go on with this.
Catcalling. Guys commenting on their looks while they walk down the street. So we got to wondering, with women wearing masks these days because of the pandemic, would that silence all of those unwanted compliments? We asked model Sabrina Jafarovich to help us
Boobies
out
are all
with a little
bouncing.
test. With me and my
Yeah, I don't want
with a
attention.
watchful eye, Sabrina first went out for a stroll
Oh my gosh.
without a mask.
How about you put a shirt on, honey?
Started.
Sometimes it intimidates women on the street if a man says something like that to her. Do you understand?
I didn't realize that, to be honest with you.
Dude, George
Then
Michael.
he apologized.
If I made her feel uncomfortable, I apologize.
It's kind of like a disturbing feeling because I don't feel safe and I don't feel comfortable.
But will it make a difference if Sabrina wears a mask?
Within a matter of minutes,
No,
it started
because,
up
oh my
again.
god, look, she's wearing these spandex pants. Her boobies are sticking out. Give me a break. Right? Of course, this guy, this chode is totally going to check her out.
Excuse me, what'd you say?
You're not beautiful.
Did you see that pretty girl just a minute ago?
Yes, of course.
What did he say to her?
You're very beautiful, baby girl.
He told me that catcalling actually works for him.
But I've done it plenty times, guys, and listen, it works.
Have you ever gone out with somebody who whistled at you or catcalled you on the street?
Absolutely not. That would be the last guy I would ever go on a date with.
But of all the looks and catcalls Sabrina got while wearing her mask, this guy takes the cake.
Is that appropriate to do to a woman that you don't know on the street?
He said butt, at least he didn't say ass. And, of course, you know, this guy likes big butts, man. Come on.
Yes, it is.
So we don't want a man commenting on our butt on the street.
So it looks like catcalls are something women will have to deal with.
I mean, they're totally baiting here in this clip with her, the way she's dressed, either the tight spandex or yoga pants, whatever that stuff is, her crop top with her cleavage out like that. I mean, guys, again, we are wired to look at accentuated boobs and booties sticking out like that, right? I mean, it's just how we're wired. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just that's what we're wired to do. I mean, of course, and she's attractive. I mean, this is a compliment. I mean, if she was like 250 pounds, I don't think she would be getting any looks at all.
Mask or no mask.
It just makes you have like the heebie-jeebies.
Okay, so I just wanted to preface that clip into tonight's coaching video, tonight's article, which seems to be a sentiment of a lot of young ladies, older women out there who are once young, once used to be catcalled. And that is that they actually miss the catcalling. They miss the attention. They miss the misogyny, the toxic masculinity. They miss that, right? And I've always said, the fact that these women are being catcalled, I mean, yeah, right or wrong, it just means that you are attractive, right? You're attractive enough to draw that type of attention from a complete stranger. Whereas most women out there do not have that, you know, they're not that attractive where they have the boobs and the butt, you know, reasonably fit. In my opinion, she was a little overweight. That's me. To get that kind of attention. Right, yeah, again, you're not going to see some 225-pound obese chick with her, you know, her belly sticking out and all. Guys are not going to be catcalling that chick. At least I hope they wouldn't. It's usually the women who are attractive in their youth. And the funny thing is, as irritated as this woman was with being catcalled, she will join this chick that we're going to cover tonight in about probably another 5 or 6 years. She looks like she's heading towards 30, because once these chicks hit the wall and the catcalling stops, that's when they're like, oh my gosh, I miss it. How come guys aren't paying attention to me anymore? How come guys aren't catcalling and they're not whistling anymore? Have I lost it? Have I lost it? Yeah, you've gotten older. So now they're just going after the younger women, right? I mean, the catcalling thing is never going to stop, unfortunately. I think it's total simp behavior, by the way, as a professional PUA. I would never catcall a woman. I would just straight up walk up to her and cold approach her. That's what I do. That's what I teach my students to do, and that gives you the best opportunity for success. But just whistling across the street, that doesn't do anything. Going, hey, beautiful, yeah, that's not going to do anything, right? That's just going to give you a little dopamine rush. That's not going to help you, right? But regardless, let's jump into tonight's article. This is by Lauren Fox, who is a feminist, and the title of her article is, I hate that I miss being catcalled. Literally, that is the title of her article, guys. I hate that I miss being catcalled. She hates the fact that she's not being catcalled anymore, and she hates the fact that she misses it, as many of these women end up feeling when they get older and they're no longer getting the validation that they did just a few years ago before they hit the wall. So the subtitle here says, I am ashamed of my internalized misogyny. It's not misogyny, sweetie. It's just the fact that you've gotten older and guys aren't paying attention to you anymore. It's not misogyny. It's biology. Plain and simple. Let's jump into our article, shall we? Lauren says, I used to hate being catcalled, as many of these younger women hate, when they're younger, because they just take this for granted, man. They're getting all the attention in the world, no different than a celebrity. But then once the roles start to die down, they're not on TV as much, they start to realize, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have been such an asswad towards my fans. Right? So she says, I used to hate getting catcalled. I was underage, and the men whistling and shouting were just that. They were men. They were adults. I was a teenager. I was very clearly a child. And I totally get that, right? I get that, and yeah, it's not cool. But again, a lot of times these guys don't know any better. They're not, trying to card her, see how old she is. They see a hot chick and they start whistling. In the warmer weather, I would be careful not to wear anything too revealing as not to provoke them more. That's wise. Okay? I would feel like I was going to have a panic attack at worst and uncomfortable at best whenever these grown men would intimidate me. I hated it, but it was an indicator that I was attractive as a young girl. That's all I wanted to be. So there you go. You got your validation, Lauren. I was particularly upset after a man tried to encourage me and my friend to drink with him. After I told him we were 15, he seemed more enthusiastic, telling us he had more friends for us to meet. My friend, who was obviously flattered by the attention, wanted to go with him. I had to force her to come with me, and I walked her back home. When I got back home myself, I told my mom about the situation. My mom said, "You're both very pretty, and men are going to notice that." Yep, I mean, that's kind of the downside of being attractive, right? It's going to happen to you, right? Whether you like it or not. Hey, I grew up in San Francisco. I didn't like the fact, like most guys that were straight, I didn't like it when gay dudes were hitting on me downtown. Like one dude even tried to like rub up against my Johnson. I was like, yo, dude, what are you doing, man? I was like really offended and pissed. I get that, right? Or like the times I've gotten hit on by gay dudes like, oh, you want to go to the movies with me sometime? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not interested. However, it's still, it goes to show like, what? That's, you're attractive on some level, right? Some of my guy friends were like, man, that never even happens to me. I would be flattered. I was like, really? I'm like, dude, it annoys me, right? So I get that, right? But again, it's a measure of the fact that, hey, you're somewhat good looking. Her reply wasn't what I expected, meaning her mom. But it wouldn't be the first time I would hear this from other females in my life. They mainly told me that I would miss the catcalling when it stopped. Yup. That's what I always tell these girls too, especially these younger girls, the ones I've dated or their friends that always complain about a catcalling. I'm like, hey, you know what? Don't worry. One day it's all going to end. They're like, how do you know? I'm like, trust me, I'm an old guy. I grew up with some hot women that used to complain about it just the same. And then they started complaining when it stopped, just like every other generation of woman. So you guys are no different. It will stop one day. I promise. Father time comes for us all, me included, right? They mainly told me that I would miss the catcalling when it stopped, as they reminisced about how men would wolf whistle at them when they were younger and how it's sad that they don't get that attention anymore. These women, who were mainly comprised of adult women in my family, seemed proud that I was pretty enough for adult men to be catcalling. I involuntarily absorbed this, and it stayed with me my whole life. I continued to look young for my age as I entered adulthood. Men would approach me asking how old I was. When I replied that I was 21, they would often comment something along the lines of, I thought you were 16. I always felt uncomfortable and would try to get out of these situations. But at the same time, I was receiving the message that I was worthy because men were noticing me. I had little confidence, so I found it weirdly reassuring that maybe I had some value. There's nothing weird about this, Lauren. That is where your value comes from as a woman. Again, don't shoot the messenger. This is just how we are wired from a biological and evolutionary point of view, right? Standpoint. You're, as a female, almost your entire worth is wired to how youthful and attractive you are. Don't believe me? Look at Hollywood, right? What do when these women hit 30? They stop casting them. They stop putting them in movies. They start, subjugating them to these just very minor roles, or playing a grandma or something like that, as much as they hate it. And I know lately Hollywood's been trying to push back with this woke agenda and putting older women in these leads. And you know what happens to those movies? They tank. They don't do well. They lose money at the box office, right? And it's like, when will you learn? This is a woman's beauty is, essentially that is where her social value lies. Just like for men, our social value is in our ability to produce. If we don't produce anything in society, if we're not out there making money and creating resources, guess what? We're of no use to anybody, and we get ignored, right? This is why most men who are homeless, they're just invisible to society. She goes on to say, I haven't been catcalled for a couple of years. That's a long time. I very much look like an adult woman now, and I've aged more since having a child. Yeah, that will definitely age you. It's nice to be able to wear skirts and or shorts in the warmer weather without men shouting sexually explicit things at me. But I secretly feel like I'm not good enough because I am no longer being noticed. You're just no longer attractive enough, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything like that. That has nothing to do with it, right? Because there are a lot of crappy women who are attractive who get catcalled. So, again, it's just tied to your physical appearance. To be clear, I don't actually want to be catcalled. Actually, sounds like you do. I don't want to be followed. I don't want to be harassed. What I want is to feel like I have value. And unfortunately, I have been taught from a young age that my value comes from how attractive men find me. This is true, right? But it's not only men, it's women too. It's society, right? Because I've seen women give young, more attractive women certain praise and, certain benefits that they wouldn't their older peers. And part of me is still that young girl, and she's worried that she's lost her worth. Well, you've just lost your social value as far as that goes. But again, this is why you want to get married as a female when you're younger and you're still hot. This is why you want to cash in your chips, because your self-worth won't need to derive that from your physical beauty that you no longer have, right? Instead, you would derive that from your family, your children, raising them, watching them have grandkids, watching them go off and have their own lives. That's where you start to derive your self-worth. It's not It's no longer, it's not going to be tied to your attractiveness anymore. I mean, because none of us can hold on to that forever. For men, when we start to get older, lose our attractiveness, it's tied to our ability to just keep creating more resources and to take care of ourselves and our families. This way of thinking is incredibly toxic, she says. I know this, and I know if I were to get catcalled again, I would be terrified and I would hate it. That's not what you were saying earlier, Lauren. But the sad reality is that men are trained from childhood to think being pretty is the ultimate goal. Oh, women are trained to think that being pretty is the ultimate goal. You know why? Because that's what they see, Lauren. All right? This is not a social construct. This is what they see from their peers from the time they turn 13 up until, adulthood. They see that, hey, women who are pretty get more validation, more attention, more free stuff, more guys with resources, higher value guys. They get the boyfriends with the Lamborghini, the Mercedes, you name it, the Rover, the DeLorean. They get those guys. Okay, whereas the less attractive women, they have to settle for their scraps, right? Their hand-me-downs. And how do you know that you're pretty enough? When you get validation from men, even if that validation dehumanizes you. Depends on how you look at it. Now that I'm getting older, I understand why the women of my childhood miss being catcalled. See, it's not just her, guys. It's her whole social circle of older females that are still in her life that are complaining that they're not getting catcalled anymore. I used to judge them, but now that I am one of them, I realize it's a lot more complicated than I thought. As women get older, society treats them less favorably. Yep. Oh, she goes on to remark about what I just said about celebrities. Think of TV shows where there are male and female hosts. Which one is the youngest? Usually the woman. Which one gets replaced if they're getting too old? The woman. True. Absolutely agree with her. Our youth-obsessed society is not always kind to aging women. It never has been. There's never been a time where it's been kind to aging women. Except for now, like I said, you got woke Hollywood trying to push older women into these leading roles and give them more screen time. And you know what? They're paying for it at the box office. They're paying for it in their TV ratings, which are just declining more and more and more because nobody wants to see that. It's not just men. It's women, too. They expect to see younger women. That's just how we're wired. You can't change human biology. You're not God. Okay? Even though a lot of these people don't believe in God, so they try to make themselves God and they try to manipulate everything as if they are God. Doesn't work. Like many women, you feel invisible once you reach middle age. You may feel pressure to mask the signs of advancing age. Women often experience feeling invisible as they get older and being taken less seriously. True. Women over 50 are particularly affected by this in the workplace. True. But now we're aging, and we're aging in a society that worships youthfulness and beauty. Again, it always has, and hate to tell you, it always will. And as women over 50 in the workplace, we feel the pressure to remain young and attractive to stay employed. That's another thing, ladies. You shouldn't be 50 and still in the workplace, right? You should have a man. You should have married off when you were younger, and you should have built up some sort of nest egg where you don't have to go out there at 50 or 60 years old competing for jobs that are meant for people fresh out of college. This is your own doing. But again, women are so dumb. They bought into the lie of feminism that told them they should leave their comfy homes and you don't have to stay at home and cook dinner for your husband. Get out there and work. Work, work, work. That's what it told him. We sense our once sought after opinions overlooked, our workload given away as we experience younger workers being promoted around us. Of course, because society as a whole, male or female, it just values youth. Values youth, right? There's nothing you can do about it. We feel marginalized and diminished and are terrified of losing our jobs, knowing full well the challenges we would face getting a new job at our age. It's almost impossible to even get an interview according to the recent studies. Well, then start your own business, right? That's what I always say. Start your own business. Don't be a piker. Start your own business. As I get older, I understand more and more that women miss being catcalled has little to do with their character and far more to do with the society we live in. Can you blame us for feeling like our value is dependent on how much our looks are validated? And as I get older, I understand more and more why the catcalling stopped. I wasn't young, fragile, and a manipulated little girl anymore. These men weren't catcalling me because I was worthy and had value. They were catcalling me because there was a power imbalance. Here we go, the feminist victimhood, right? I was agreeing with a lot of what she was saying until now. She's got to do the woman thing, feminist thing, got to play victim here. My body has changed a lot, particularly after having a child. I look older with my crow's feet around my eyes. That's just what I always talk about. That's where it starts. I couldn't be mistaken for a 16-year-old these days. Why would you want to? But that doesn't mean my value has decreased just because I've aged. Well, your social value has. Maybe your value as a person has gone up, but your social value has definitely decreased. And it won't decrease the older I get either. Whatever you need to tell yourself so you can sleep at night, honey. She goes on to say, we're the glue that holds society together. We save the economy $87 billion a year with our free child minding and caring for it. What did she talk about? Okay, let's skip down here. She says, I don't see our culture changing dramatically anytime soon. I believe it will be a slow process, and I'm not sure if my daughter will see a significant change in her lifetime. No, she won't, honey. Lauren, your daughter's not going to see a change in her lifetime. Neither will your granddaughter or your great-granddaughters. They're not going to see any change. This is human nature, right? I mean, as humans, we've been around for thousands of years, and it's been this way. It will not change in your lifetime or even in the next 1,000 years. I can pretty much tell you that. Okay, just based on historical data, it's not going to change. You just have to understand this is the reality you live in, and that's part of being an adult too. I talk about this on my Alpha Male Secrets channel. When you're a kid, you see the world how you want it to be, right? When you get older, you see the world of how it really is, and you make the best of it. You do the best you can. But a lot of these people never get out of, they think they're children. They can control reality. No, you can't. There's a lot of damage to be undone, and it's hard to stop our next generation's toxic beliefs accidentally sweeping into the next generation's set of beliefs when they are so deeply ingrained in our culture. It's not our culture, Lauren. It's in our biology. You can't change our DNA. You just can't. Again, these women, these people who don't believe in God, trying to play God. You are not God. Stop playing God with the weather, people's genders. Just stop playing God and accept the fact there is a God. Or if you don't believe in that, then you know what? That the universe works in mysterious ways. I know they like that a lot. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, but not religious. Right? There's better, more colorful wording for you, phrasing. The only education, what does she say here? Okay, I did not receive these influences as a little girl. Oh, here she says, but the rise in awareness of feminism, oh yeah, feminism's going to save us. But the rise in awareness of feminism and body acceptance gives me hope. Again, Lauren, that is not what people are attracted to. We are not attracted to fat, loud feminists, right? As a matter of fact, every study will tell you that people, both men and women, are repulsed whenever they see somebody who is overweight and obese or is fat, right? You get the same type of reaction as when you're driving past a car wreck and there's some dead bodies hanging. You don't want to look, right? Because you don't want that to be you. We have a very visceral reaction to seeing somebody who is unhealthy. Somebody who we know is probably going to get diabetes or have cholesterol problems or might have a stroke one day because of their poor eating habits. That is not acceptance. That's, again, the buffoonery here is off the charts. But I was agreeing with her up until she went, full woke on me here. The only education she says, the only education I had on what it meant to be a woman was misogynistic, of course, right? Reality these days, guys, to women like this is misogynistic. Reality is misogynistic. Instead of taking responsibility and going, hey, I'm just not young anymore. I just can't hold on to my youth like I could. It's just a part of natural aging as a human being, right? It's there. She's essentially saying aging is misogynistic. It's not. This is just reality, honey. You just have to accept it and stop labeling things you don't like as misogynist or toxic, right? It is what it is. It's reality. Okay? It's not always going to be sunshines and rainbows, okay? Sometimes reality is a little ugly, right? But you know what? It's part of being an adult. We accept reality and we do the best we can. By you blame shifting here and saying, oh, feminism needs to save us, you're just going to be spending the rest of your days angry, alone, because no man's going to want to be with that. Angry, alone, and just hating yourself, wanting the world to be how you want it to be versus how it actually is. This is part of maturing that feminists, it's a level that of maturity feminists never seem to reach, right? Because only children and immature adults constantly blame shift, right? And losers. So, if not all of the above. It was the best people could do at the time, but now we know better, she says. Oh yeah, we have feminism. Hopefully that means we will do better. And bit by bit, little girls will start to realize their worth isn't dependent on toxic and dehumanizing feedback from men who should not be sniffing around teenagers, Biden, or young women who could pass as teenagers. Again, you're not going to stop that, Lauren. You need to join us in reality. You can't stop this. You will be driving yourself mad trying to stop this. Hopefully, if my daughter has children of her own, she won't have to raise them whilst having to learn all the internalized misogyny I'm struggling to unlearn. Oh my gosh. Again, there is a reason why... the lack of accountability here is just asinine, even when it's biological. The fact that she's aging, she's no longer getting catcalled, which she used to hate as a child. She's no longer getting catcalled. She's blaming this and the way she feels on internalized misogyny when it's not. It's just nature. It's just human nature. It's just part of getting older. Okay? That's all it is. And hopefully she will realize no matter how much society tries to tell her otherwise, her value will not decrease with age. That's like me sitting here going, you know what, guys? I'm going to try to change reality for you, right? We're going to change reality, and you no longer have to produce as a man. You no longer have to get a good job. You no longer have to land a woman. No longer have to live in the right neighborhood or drive an expensive car to get the right woman. Yeah, you don't even have to be chivalrous. Oh, that's so old school. We're going to get rid of this misogynist world. No, that's just not reality, right? But because I'm an adult and I'm fairly mature, I think, at least enough to realize, like, hey, I can't change the world. I'm not God, right? God has a plan for all of us. We just have to enjoy the short time we have on this planet and treat each other as best as we can, as we would like to be treated. And just try to be the change that we want to see in the world. But her just going, oh, everything's toxic, everything's misogynistic. You're not creating change here, Lauren. All you're doing is turning people against you because they're like, oh, I don't want to be around this loudmouth. You're just angry. You're just hateful. You're just one of those angry, man-hating feminists, right? This is why people say, you're just an angry, man-hating feminist because of this kind of rhetoric. Take responsibility. Okay, she closes up with a quote from Erin McKean. I have no clue who that is. I guess it's a feminist. But she says, Erin McKean, who's probably her idol, she says, you don't owe prettiness to anyone. Not to your boyfriend, not to your spouse or partner, not to your coworkers, especially not to random men on the street. You don't owe it to your mother. You don't owe it to your children. How come she left out the father? You don't owe it to civilization in general. Prettiness is not a rent you pay for occupying a space marked female. Signed, Erin McKean. You don't owe anything to anyone. That's true. But you know what? Don't cry about it she is crying about it. When your social value drops into the stratosphere here. Right? Don't cry about it, don't whine about it, and don't bitch about it, right? So I don't want to hear this stuff. I don't know my prettiness to anyone. Well, if you have a boyfriend and if you have a partner and if you have a spouse, if you're married and you put on 200-300 pounds and that person decides to leave you because of that, he has that ability to do that, right? He has the right to do that, right? You have the right to shame him all you want for leaving you. If you gain a bunch of weight, you chop off all your hair like a lot of these women do once they get married, you put on, you start wearing sweats and stop looking pretty. Hey, he has a right to just go, hey, I'm done with this. I'm not interested in this, right? And just like, if my girl put on like 200 pounds, I would start to warn her at some point, like, hey, why are you putting on so much weight? Take it easy. Let's lay off the nachos. I would even try to work with her, like, hey, let's not do this bad food anymore. Let's eat healthy together. I'm going to help you. But if she keeps like gobbling, everything in sight, she's putting on weight, she's not taking care of herself anymore, she's like showering once a week, I'm just going to be like, you know what? This is not what I signed up for. This is not what you presented. When I met you, you presented yourself as a healthy person. Now you're being an unhealthy person. I have the right to walk, and I will not feel guilty about it, right? Why? Because I don't want to be around that. Just like I wouldn't want to be around a dude who's like that. Because why? Because it affects my habits. I don't want that to be in my, in my environment. Because, same reason why I don't like hanging around with, like, lots of like losers or obese persons. Because that starts to affect you, right? You want to surround yourself with healthy and successful people. Why? Because that will encourage you to be healthy and successful. So take some accountability here, Lauren. Regardless, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. Let me know what you think of these feministas as Laura. Oh, her name's Laura. Sorry, I was calling her Lauren. Laura here is talking about how she misses catcalling. Let me know your thoughts on tonight's story, tonight's article below in the comments. Always love to see you guys in my comments. Always love to read them. So drop those comments below. Also, don't forget to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and smash that notification bell as well, so you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on my YouTube channel. And for you guys who want to support my work and everything I'm teaching you here, best way to support my work is just jump into 7 months of mastery. Right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons from me. So take advantage of it. Click the link below. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. Just takes 2 seconds, so do that now, and I'll see you in my next coaching video. I'm out.